Mangwanani malelepo vukenjani kleklas vana ve Africa. You're at the right place. You're with Africa. Good morning. Your portal into Africa's potent stories. Today, Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni admits that two Kenyan activists were detained for weeks after attending an event with opposition leader Bobi Wine. In South Africa, former President Jacob Zuma's daughter pleads not guilty in the 2021 riot incitement case. India deepens energy and defense partnerships with Angola during a high-level visit. Then in Zimbabwe, Talent Gore reports on job Sikhala's arrest, human trafficking crises, economic controversies, and the Warriors' new coach, Marian Marinica, plus an insightful interview in our AGM Spotlight with Wilhelm van Niekerk from Emed Rescue 24. Watch AGM on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, ntvafrika.my.na, and NTV Africa on YouTube. That's Africa with a K. My name is Ashwin Berry. Top stories shortly.
Have you ever wondered why Grandma keeps her money under the mattress? And why is Angela uninsured? The Namibia Financial Inclusion Survey 2025 will help us find all the answers. From 6 October till the 4th of November 2025, the Namibia Statistics Agency teams in uniforms with tablets will visit homes across all 14 regions to learn about financial access, informal banking and saving habits. Email us at info@nsa.org.ma or at 061 431 3200.
Getting into our top stories. Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni has admitted that two Kenyan activists, Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo, who vanished in Uganda for 5 weeks, had been arrested. The pair were last seen being taken by masked men after attending a political event with opposition leader Bobi Wine. Their release was confirmed on Saturday after Ugandan authorities had previously denied detaining them. During a live interview, Museveni described the men as experts in riots who had been put in the fridge for some days. He said they were freed following calls from some Kenyan leaders. On arrival in Nairobi, Njagi recounted their 38 days of abduction by the military. Kenya's Foreign Minister Musalia Mudavadi credited sustained diplomatic engagement for their release. Vocal Africa, the Law Society of Kenya, and Amnesty International thanked both governments for their efforts. Bobi Wine, however, accused Ugandan authorities of targeting the men for supporting him. Similar incidents of abductions and cross-border detentions have raised concerns about regional collaboration to silence dissent across East Africa. Duduzile Zuma-Sambudla, daughter of former South African President Jacob Zuma, has pleaded not guilty to inciting violence during the July 2021 riots that left more than 300 people dead. The unrest began after Jacob Zuma's arrest for defying a court order to testify at a corruption inquiry and spiraled into widespread looting, causing an estimated 50 billion rand in damages. Appearing at the Durban High Court, prosecutors alleged Zuma-Sambudla used social media to encourage violence. Her father, who led South Africa from 2009 to 2018, attended court to support her, sitting with members of his Umkhonto weSizwe party. The MK party was a major disruptor in the 2024 national elections, significantly reducing support for the ruling African National Congress, which Jacob Zuma once headed. The trial marks one of South Africa's most high-profile cases linked to the deadly riots that followed Zuma's imprisonment, testing the accountability of politically connected figures. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on that. India has begun a strategic effort to deepen energy and defense cooperation with Angola through long-term oil and mineral partnerships. President Draupadi Murmu, on a 4-day visit to Luanda, announced that Indian oil firms aim to sign enduring purchase contracts with Angola. Several memorandums of understanding were signed covering fisheries, aquaculture, marine resources, and consular matters. India expressed interest in Angola's rare earth minerals, diamond industry, and petroleum refining, highlighting the potential for mutual benefit in diamond processing. Murmu stated that Angola's role in India's energy security is very important, adding that India could assist in defense supplies as a trusted exporter. The visit followed Angola's earlier engagement in India, where a defense line of credit was established. Discussions also covered infrastructure cooperation, with India offering to provide Vande Bharat high-speed trains and support in road development. The ceremonial welcome for President Murmu at the presidential palace underscored the strengthening bilateral ties between the two nations. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, we'll be joined by Talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report. But prior to that, let's have a look at the weather. As promised, it's time for us to talk to Talent Gore as she delivers the Zimbabwe report. Talent, wamukase. Tamuka hedu, admittedly, atinakumuka worse than Job Sikhala, who was arrested in South Africa over an explosives discovery.
Yes, our former member of parliament and opposition activist Job Sikhala was arrested in South Africa after police allegedly found explosives in his vehicle. The 53-year-old politician is currently being held at a main police station in Pretoria. And as you can see in that picture, he appeared in court yesterday, but will be back again tomorrow for bail application. Friends of believe he was the victim of a setup possibly involving Zimbabwean intelligence operatives. So he'll be back in court tomorrow in South Africa, where he will be applying for his bail. Apparently was arrested alongside his 72-year-old uncle, as you can see in that picture. That's him, Job Sikhala, and his uncle. So they're going to be in court tomorrow for bail application. Right now they're being detained at South African police station.
All right, Talent, moving on. Zimbabweans have been trapped by human traffickers, and this is obviously amid to the economic crisis. It's one of the results.
Well, this is not the first time that we have heard about Zimbabweans who are being trafficked to other countries. So you can find out that desperate Zimbabweans who are fleeing the country's economic challenges are falling prey to human traffickers amid reports that locals have been lured to Myanmar. According to the Center for Human Trafficking, while the number of Zimbabweans victims remain unknown due to the discrete nature of the crime, the issue has become incremental recently. Center for Human Trafficking says that many Zimbabweans are being enticed by traffickers through deceitful job offers and promises of a better life in foreign countries. In 2022, the government was forced to intervene to rescue over 107 nationals who were stranded in Oman. The Zimbabweans were turned into slaves after being lured with mouth-watering salary packages. So this is not the first time that we have heard about Zimbabweans who are being lured to countries for greener pastures. But right now, they're saying that they are increasing, and just recently they found out that some people are now going to Myanmar.
All right, Talent. We certainly hope that situation can be mitigated sooner rather than later. Now, Zimbabwe's Minister Mthuli Ncube claimed citizens spend $9 daily, and obviously this brought on some criticism.
Yes, our Finance Minister Mthuli Ncube left parliamentarians stand after claiming that the average Zimbabwean now spends about $9 per day, suggesting the country is edging closer to achieving middle income status. Addressing members of during a 2026 pre-budget seminar in Bulawayo, Professor said government data shows that most citizens are now spending on average $9 per day, which he described as evidence of growing prosperity. The data, he says that the data tells us that we are no longer a small economy, we are a serious economy going forward. He said that by the end of December, Zimbabwe will fully lift mid economy. Also projected that the economy would grow by 5.6% by 2025, but this remarks drew murmurs from lawmakers, some of whom questioned whether the $9 figure reflects the lived reality of millions of Zimbabweans struggling with inflation, low wages, and prices. So you find out that most citizens in Zimbabwe, they are now questioning whether Professor Mthuli Ncube is in his right state of mind or something is going on, because the majority of Zimbabweans, they can't afford to spend $9 per day.
Indeed, Talent. Now we end on what we hope is a positive note. Romanian coach Marian Marinica is the new head coach for Zimbabwe's Warriors.
Yes, and he has announced his first squad since his appointment, sticking with veterans Knowledge Msona and Marvelous Nakamba, while also retaining the bulk of the squad, which failed to make an impression during the 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers. Mario's 24-man squad will play international friendlies against Algeria and Qatar later this month as preparations intensify for the 2025 Cup of Nations finals in Morocco in December. The matches will be played in the November FIFA international window, with the fixtures expected to give Marinica a final look at the core group ahead of the finals, which will run from December 2025 to January 18, 2026. So we hope that he will be able to figure out how he's going to play his men during these friendlies and hopefully during the AFCON.
All right, yes, we are certainly keeping fingers crossed, because AFCON is just around the corner, 40 days until the beginning of AFCON in Morocco. Thank you very much, Talent Gore, for delivering the Zimbabwe report.
You're welcome, and thank you very much for having me.
It's always good to have you on Africa Good Morning. When we return, we're going to have an AGM Spotlight interview with Mr. Wilhelm van Niekerk, who is the Managing Director of Emed Rescue 24. But first, the economic indicators.
Life is unpredictable, and one needs to be protected against any eventuality. Get Santam legal access from as little as 50 Namibian dollars a month for when you find yourself in need of legal representation due to civil cases, criminal prosecution, and family matters such as divorce, child maintenance, and custody. It also covers labor disputes, disciplinary hearings, and unfair dismissal or retrenchment. With Santam Legal Access, you'll receive free legal advice on almost every legal aspect, whether the specific matter is covered by your policy or not. For true peace of mind and legal protection when you need it most, call us on 061 292 8000. Santam. This is freedom.
It's time for us to show you our AGM Spotlight interview with Mr. Wilhelm van Niekerk, who is the Managing Director of Emed Rescue 24, as we dug deep into the workings of this company and the essentiality of emergency responders. Welcome to yet another Africa Good Morning Spotlight. This time I am joined by Mr. Wilhelm van Niekerk, who is the Managing Director of Emed Rescue 24. Greetings, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Ashwin. I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
Fantastic. It's good to have you here
Good,
on the show.
Thank you for having me.
So, without, jumping into my own understanding, of course, when you hear Emed Rescue 24, you get a vague picture of what we're talking about. But what services does Emed 24, Rescue 24 provide, and how long have you been operating in Namibia?
Ashwin, thank you. We've been operating for about 22 years now in the operations of the emergency services pre-hospital field. Our focus areas are emergency services for the ambulances, for example. Then we also have on-site medical standbys. We also do training. And then we've got a clinic that focuses on the wellness and screening of patients.
Wow.
In the services that we render, we do the road and the aeromedical evacuations of patients and inter-facility transports. And then we've got quite an adaptable fleet, as well as highly trained professionals, medical staff, that would deliver services from basic up to advanced level of care.
All right. I like that you say that, because I spend a lot of time on Africa Good Morning just looking at the news in various sectors, various health sectors around the world. A service such as this, for example, for an American would literally cost an arm and a leg. And because also you have a decentralized approach to what you do. So I have to ask, how do you ensure rapid and reliable emergency response to remote areas?
A very good question. We've got satellite stations, so we decentralized, as you mentioned, so we've got stations in different towns. And then we obviously surrounding areas as well as the immediate areas covered by that. When an emergency call comes in, we also look at how will we approach this by getting all the information that is possibly available, as much as possible information, considering the road surface areas, considering day and night, considering if there's possibly a landing strip for an aircraft that can come in. So all of the information is then gathered, and as soon as we have that, we do informed decision on what's the best access to the patient, as well as what would bring the patient to the best definitive care facility for treatment.
All right. Now, as you know, information is my job. And
all right.
Information is not possible without technology.
Great.
What kind of technology and systems do you utilize to support your operations?
We have an in-house developed system, actually, that does our case management system. So if a caller comes in, everything is done on an in-house system. That we log all the details, all the information. It also captures past records as it goes. Then we also have the panic application that we have available for download. When you register on this panic app, and you push the button, we will get your direct location. We will also get your past medical history as well as medication that you're currently on. And the best part of that is your next of kin information. So should it be that the medics get on site and you are unconscious at that stage, we can also get hold of your next of kin.
Wow, that is incredibly efficient. Just before I continue, what's the relevance of the word 24, the 24 in your name? I'm assuming it's 24 hours.
24 hours a day.
24 hours
24
a day, which is fantastic, because I mean, it's not a health emergency if it's 8 a.m.
That's great.
In general, but of course it depends on what happens. How does, because obviously you don't operate in a vacuum. You're operating within a ministry, within an entire sector. So how do you collaborate with medical and health facilities, for example?
Well, we've got stakeholder engagements and meetings and committees that we serve on. The whole intention is to enhance patient care and access as we go throughout the country. So we've got Emed medical staff sitting on committees and stakeholder engagements with the Ministry of Health and Social Services, Namibian Trading Authority, MVA Fund, as well as other services that we join, including actually Namibian University of Science and Technology, which offers the bachelor's degree in paramedics. So the intention is always to enhance patient care as well as client satisfaction.
All right. Yeah, it's all encompassing, so to speak, and without a doubt, you end up assisting, not end up, in nature you assist the government as well in its operations, without a doubt. But of course, it's one thing to be in a business such as this. It's another thing to be able to approach it as meticulously as you ought to, because it's a very exact science. The room for error is
It's
very thin, very small margin for error. So what kind of training programs do you offer with regards to your emergency, responders?
On the training side, we first look at our internal development. So we've got an internal development program for our own staff, which we ensure that their skills, knowledge, and mental and physical awareness stays up to date, and that they are doing well, firstly. And then we also have outside training programs for the public, where we are registered with the Allied Health Professions Council to offer the intermediate life support course, which is one of the courses that you require to get into the pre-hospital field on ambulance work. Then we're also registered with the Ministry of Labour as an authorised inspection authority for the levels of first aid, basic fire extinguisher training, which is part of firefighting. We do working at heights and rope access training as well.
All right. Yeah. Now, aside from being on Africa Good Morning, which is on ntvafrika.my.na, DSTV 285, GOTV 25, how do you raise public awareness?
The raising thereof is getting involved. So going to schools, meeting with communities, discussing with clients and seeing what is the need out there, what is the understanding. And all of those engagements brings about an opportunity to discuss medical and firefighting awareness, preparedness. So a question to people in general: if you work around the house, do you have a first aid kit available? If you are a new mom or dad or work with toddlers, small kids at the preschool, do you know how to help a child that's choking at that stage? If there's a fire that breaks out, do you know where is your assembly points? So all those things, and then of course, how do you alert an emergency services, being it ambulance, fire, or police for that matter? Do you know what the numbers are?
Yeah, I mean, that leads us also into our next question, because when we were talking about health globally, the first word that usually pops up is access. A lot of people do not have access to health care. We won't even touch on America like I did earlier before, because that's a whole different ballgame altogether. So right here in Namibia, as Emed 24, how do you contribute to improving the healthcare access? I think I could say, of course, being able to access remote areas, as you mentioned, is already something that you do, but are there any other ways?
I believe there are other ways. I think Emed has grown a culture of adaptability in the environment that we move, and obviously led by emergency situations and the whole healthcare diversity in itself. So being a healthcare management provider, our vision is to provide care through innovation, networking, as well as technology. And then we're looking at the remote and health access. So remote care, being not physically present, but remotely, as well as the healthcare access that is available. So we also constantly in partnership and contact with healthcare developers, partnerships, to see how we can expand the remote healthcare access ability of our patients.
Yes, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned innovation. I say this because for 2020, a lot of healthcare services had to innovate in order to reach the people. They had to, I'm glad you said you have a culture of adaptability. They had to adapt to a completely different landscape, and there was nothing of that scale that had happened, at least in our lifetime. So what role does innovation really play with regards to your service delivery?
The innovation in today's world, being in a current fast-paced environment, ever-changing business environment, I think innovation is the leading change setter, if I can call it that. Being on the forefront of international and global benchmarking of healthcare service providers would be the lead to see how we can improve our best care. So in our circumstances, it would be reaching the rural areas, moving into access, moving into remote care, and seeing what we can do with the new buzzword of AI, digital platforms, and moving in that direction.
All right. Well, I mean, as far as moving on digital platforms, I think you've done a fantastic job by being on Africa Good Morning. Thank you very much for joining us and for alerting and making us aware truly of, the services you provide to the nation. I think a lot of us have seen you in the periphery of our spaces, our events, and we don't always acknowledge how safe we are until we see someone getting stretchered off a rugby field. And very often your first response is life-saving, and we appreciate your contribution to healthcare.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me.
Very good to have you. So that has been Mr. Wilhelm van Niekerk, who's the Managing Director of Emed Rescue 24, and they have a culture of adaptability to your healthcare needs. And that's how we wrap up the show. Thank you for joining us on DSTV 285, GOTV 25, oneup2.com, and ntvafrika.my.na, as well as NTV Africa on YouTube. My name is Ashwin Berry. Tomorrow, we get into Botswana with Rorisang Mohojwe. And of course, we bring you top stories from across Africa and our AGM Spotlight interview with George Kamati of Ongopolo Mining.